Hey everyone, welcome back to Inside the Cage, where we bring you the latest and exciting updates of UFC. Francis Ngannou reveals UFC contract issues. MMA fighter Francis Ngannou drops a bombshell on the UFC fans that will leave them in awe. In a recent interview, Francis Ngannou didn't hold back as he shared his frustration with the UFC's refusal to offer him a fight to finish his contract. However, the whole situation surrounding Ngannou's departure from the UFC has been quite messy, to say the least. The Predator has openly accused Dana White and the company of underpaying him, being dishonest about their negotiations, and even going as far as threatening his agent with lawsuits. Ultimately, he disregarded both his own and the UFC's reputation. Even though Ngannou has turned the page, but the UFC's refusal remains etched in his memory. It's clear that there's still a lot to unpack when it comes to this chapter of Ngannou's career. During a recent interview on the Dan Le Batard show with Dricus, Ngannou expressed his frustration with the UFC for not allowing him to complete his contract. "We had an 8-fight deal, and then I'm here asking for a fight to deliver. They are very happy to go out there all the time and say, 'Oh, we give fighters 3 fights a year. We give this.' At the time, I even had to save all the videos that Dana was saying, like, 'Oh, we give those fighters 3 fights a year.' I'm like, this guy is joking, right? I've been here for 5 or 6 months asking for a fight because I need money, I need to fulfill the contract, I need to make a living." He continued, "My contract was exclusive, so I didn't have any other revenue. They were holding me captive, and then now they are trying to act like I want more money. I didn't want more money. If it was about more money, I would have signed a contract because there was more money in those contracts, and more and more and more by the time I was getting to the end." In another interview, he emphasized his desire for freedom over money when negotiating his next contract. When asked about his UFC earnings, the former heavyweight champion simply responded by saying, $120,000. Now, Ngannou has officially joined the PFL, and we'll have to wait until next year to see him back in the MMA scene. He has his sights set on professional boxing. Excitingly, he's expected to make his boxing debut later this year before stepping into the PFL Smart Cage in 2024. Let's see where the winds of fate carry him. Whatever it is, he's got it. Joe Rogan gushes over next UFC star. Now let's talk about the next rising star in the UFC cage. According to Joe Rogan, the UFC has got something truly extraordinary in Ian Garry. This unbeaten Irishman caught everyone's attention with his remarkable performances in the Cage Warriors circuit, earning him the reputation as the next Conor McGregor. Garry said in an interview, "Being compared to one of the biggest superstars on the planet and the person who changed the sport isn't a bad thing in my eyes. So, yeah, I'll take it and run with it." Although Ian Garry has made efforts to distance himself from being solely compared to Conor McGregor. But it's evident that McGregor still casts a significant influence over the 25-year-old from Portmarnock. And honestly, the immense fame of McGregor has hanging over Garry. It might not be such a bad thing. During a recent episode of the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, the conversation mainly revolved around fighters outside the UFC. Then the topic of Ian Garry and his potential for the future came up. It's clear that Gary's talent has caught the attention of industry veterans, and the discussion around his prospects is something to keep an eye on. Rogan said, "He's undefeated, so confident and so intelligent. Beating Daniel Rodriguez like that in the last fight and being the first guy to stop Rodriguez with strikes, that's a big deal. He's got it. Whatever it is, he's got it. He's on his way up." Robert Whittaker is fighting Dricus du Plessis at UFC 290. Moving towards the next piece of news. It seems that Robert Whittaker is pretty happy with his upcoming matchup against Dricus du Plessis at UFC 290. Whittaker is all set for a thrilling middleweight showdown that could potentially lead to a title shot. Interestingly, it was Israel Adesanya who initially called out du Plessis. However, Whittaker admires the way the South African fighter is approaching his career by willingly taking on the toughest opponents out there. An intriguing battle in the middleweight division on your way. I think I read somewhere that he actually commented on that and saying, "I'm not here to do the smart thing, I'm here to fight. That's why I am so happy with this fight. Because I will respect that and give you a fight with everything that I have." Whittaker said on his Arcade podcast. That is the game for me. That is the craft that is fulfilling to me in my warrior spirit. Although Robert Whittaker is thrilled about his matchup because he knows Du Plessis is always up for an exciting fight. Du Plessis' warrior mentality in the octagon excites him and pushing him to train even harder. From everything I've seen with Dricus, he seems like a straight-up fella. He seems like a warrior. He's got like a good warrior and honorable spirit about him, Whittaker said. That really excites me. It excites me to have an opponent like that. An opponent that sees the craft for what it is for, sees what we are getting ourselves into, staring across the octagon together in the floor space of the arena. Knowing he's like that just gave me electric tingles. I love it. Luckily, he won after his recent decision over Marvin Vettori. That's why he is on a high. If he can overcome the challenge of Du Plessis at UFC 290, the next big fight in line for him is against Israel Adesanya for the championship belt. The stakes are high, and the anticipation for that potential matchup is through the roof, for sure. Sean O'Malley's coach believes UFC for sure wants superstar Sean O'Malley to dethrone Aljamain Sterling. In last, have a look on the strained relationship between Aljamain Sterling and the UFC. As the reigning bantamweight champion, Sterling has successfully defended his belt 3 times. And the latest victory over Henry Cejudo at UFC 288 was earlier this month. The proof is in the pudding. UFC President Dana White wasted no time in booking Sterling to face Sean O'Malley at UFC 292 in Boston on August 19, 2023. And it gives him a quick turnaround. Since then, things have taken a dramatic turn. Sterling is feeling the toll of 3 title fights in just 13 months, and he's uncertain if his body will be ready to perform. Unfortunately, expressing these concerns has led to White criticizing Sterling, accusing him of being unable to get out of his own way. Love it or hate it, this situation seems to work in favor of the next challenger, Sean O'Malley. Sugar has been preparing for a title fight since his victory over Peter Yan in October 2022, while Sterling enters an abbreviated training camp with potential injuries. Despite the UFC's apparent favoritism, Welch doesn't underestimate Sterling. His fight team has faced Sterling before and is well aware of his strengths, particularly his skills on the ground. It sets the stage for an intriguing matchup, with both fighters bringing their own unique qualities to the table. Oh, for sure, Sterling is the toughest matchup. For sure, Welch continued. Our professor, Augusto Tanquinho Mendez, he won the ADCC, and he's very strong. He's very strong, and he's one of the very best grapplers on the planet at the weight. And he's even talked about how strong Aljo is. He's just so physically strong. And he's not only a good wrestler who is going to get on top and sit in the guard and not know how to pass the guard, he's going to move to half guard, punch you, move to mount, take your back. He's really good at jiu-jitsu, and he's an expert back taker. You make one mistake with Aljo, and he's going to be on your back for the rest of the round. He's physical, and he's an athlete. And he's not super basic on his feet. He's super funky on his feet, throwing random kind of spazzy stuff. It makes it super dangerous. It makes him hard to prepare for. I definitely think he's the most dangerous bantamweight. Thanks for watching till the end. Remember to give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe to stay updated about our future content. See you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.